Good morning. Welcome to your program, Your Agenda, here on Cignal TV, One News Channels 8 and 250. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, your Kuya Cito, welcoming you to today's episode. And today, if you are into cars, if you are planning, thinking of buying a car, a truck, or some other form of vehicle, then do join us today. Or maybe you're thinking, what is it like to run a dealership or to sell cars? Today, that is the topic we are going to be talking about. And I'm aligning it with my column in the Philippine Star, where I wrote about relaunch revenge or revenge relaunching, where so many car manufacturers, distributors are launching events of the new models of vehicles. And apparently, the industry is doing quite well, relatively well, in spite of our economic woes. So do join us today, and we will try our best to get the best tips from our guests who runs a business or heads a business group of multiple brands. Hindi siya loyalist sa isang brand. He has outlets and that sells different brands of cars. So it should be an interesting conversation. But before that, I would like to thank all of you, our Cignal TV subscribers, for being part of Agenda, for allowing us to come into your homes, for allowing us to be part of your day. Maraming salamat po. As well, of course, to PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet for their continued support. Mr. Marco Borlongan, I hope you have a great week this week. And speaking of week, it's July 31. It's the last day of July, and we enter into the month of August. And I know I have some friends who are wary of the month of August. And tawag ba nila doon? Ghost month. Okay, I'm not sure in the Chinese lunar calendar, but you know, if you are a faithful servant of the Lord, yung ghost friend nating lahat. Okay, so may mga friendly ghost naman, di ba? Si Casper. Anyway, let's go to our daily starter. And it's from Benjamin Franklin. Gab, if you would, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. From Benjamin Franklin. Yesterday, out of character, I decided to go to church. Well, that's in character, going to church, Sunday service, but I spent the afternoon attending a seminar that was conducted by the Victory Christian Fellowship Makati under Pastor Dennis C. And they held a seminar featuring Karen Espiritu and R.D. Abelio. And it was about fulfilling your dreams, pursuing your dreams. And R.D. talked about the challenges in business and how to stay resolute with integrity, etc. And I came home realizing how true what Benjamin Franklin said, because we could have spent the afternoon in the mall, spent the afternoon just cleaning stuff in the house, etc. But we decided, let's go attend the seminar. And we came home much wiser and with a lot of deep questions answered or the ideas confirmed. So if you are in a situation where you kind of are worried, ay, mga seminar yan, gagastos lang ako, etc. Life is all about continuing education. So once in a while, even online, just go for it, learn something new. Okay, let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And the headline of the Philippine Star today, July 31, 2023, Monday, senators set probe on Rizal boat tragedy. The Senate is preparing to investigate the deaths of 27 passengers who drowned on July 27 after their boat capsized in Laguna de Bay in Binangonan, Rizal at the tail end of the Typhoon Esjay. Okay, so that's the headline, and normally I refrain from making editorial comments because it's the Philippine Star I'm reading from, but I'm sorry, I can't help this one. To our honorable senators, can you please study the establishment, or if we have one, support for the National Transport Safety Board that is put up to investigate tragedies like this. So you legislators don't have to put your finger in every disaster that happens. Point number two, this is the third disaster that's happened involving boats and ferries. Why only now? Okay, so I'm sorry, I have to say, is it because some of you are re-electionists? This is really, something that upsets me, that hindi pa nalilibing yung iba. We have not buried the dead. The Coast Guard has not completed its investigation. And already, we have politicians, re-electionist politicians, putting their finger in this disaster. Anyway, that's all I will say for now. Meanwhile, header of the Philippine Star, teachers, online classes during calamities, insensitive. Ako po, I think the long and short of it is the insistence of the Department of Education that teachers continue conducting classes through online during calamities is insensitive. In the first place, if there is a calamity, if there is a typhoon, kung normal nga, wala nga tayong internet connection, our mobile services are disrupted by nature, etc. And during calamities, it gets worse. It is truly insensitive. Okay, that big photo at the top of the front page of the Philippine Star are pictures of graduating students at the University of the Philippines that had to cut their graduation ceremonies short because of Typhoon Esjay and Typhoon Falcon. So they had to content themselves with having their photos, images taken at the UP oblation. Still related to the Typhoon Esjay, etc., the Department of Agriculture declares Esjay agri-damage hits 1.3 billion. Okay, hindi pa po tapos ang reporting. Nasasabi na nilang 1.3 billion ang damage. Okay, so and lower midsection of the Philippine Star, we have a photo of the Philippine Lady Booters facing their supporters at the end of their FIFA Women's World Cup match with Norway in Auckland, New Zealand yesterday. A 6-0 loss to Norway ended the Filipinas' historic World Cup journey, marked by an epic 1-0 win over host New Zealand on Tuesday. Inset shows Hali Long gesturing after the game. Yun po, no? Okay. Then, still related to typhoons, Falcon intensifies before leaving Par today. Severe tropical storm Falcon is expected to leave the Philippine area of responsibility tonight or maybe tomorrow morning, and may further intensify into a typhoon, according to Pag-asa. Whether or not it does, the fact will remain that we will continue to have more rain through the next 2 days. And then after 3 years, House resumes in-person session. The lower chamber of Congress resumes face-to-face plenary session today after 3 years following President Marcos' lifting of the COVID state of public health emergency on July 21. Okay. Now that photo at the bottom of the Philippine Star, Philippine-Malaysia Private Sector Cooperation. That's what that photo is all about. President Marcos joins Association of Southeast Asian Nation Business Advisory Council Philippines Chairman and Go Negosyo founder Joey Concepcion during a meeting with Malaysian business leaders. Yun po, okay. So there we go. And last but not the least, the most serious news for the day, and it's been ringing since this weekend, the 3 peso, the pending 3 peso fuel hike tomorrow. Transport groups to meet amid 3 peso oil price hike. The so-called Magnificent Seven, composed of the biggest transport groups in the country, will meet to discuss the impact of the impending increase of over 3 pesos per liter, okay, in the retail price of diesel. And that is a serious cause for concern for all of us, because with 3 pesos, ano pa ang kikitahin ng mga driver, and it will surely drive up prices of all commodities unless the government is able to step in and say, okay, we will cut back on the taxes we levy on fuel. Yan po ang problema. While the fuel prices are going up, the national government continues to collect their share, their profit before the profit. Yan po. And it is sad, but it's true. It is always the Filipino who has to carry the burden, while people in government, relax laang sila kasi tuloy ang kita. Okay, let's now go to our main event, our personality feature, our topic feature. And Gab Malyari, if you would, please roll out the Betamax.
The automotive industry continues its bounce back from the economic impact of the pandemic. Based on the report of the Chamber of Automotive Manufacturers of the Philippines, or CAMPI, and the Truck Manufacturers Association, or TMA, over 200,000 car units were sold in the first 6 months of the year. That's a 30.7% increase from the same period in 2022. CAMPI said this is a strong signal of the local car manufacturers' sustained growth. How can automotive manufacturers keep this growth in the near future? Let's discuss this on today's agenda.
Leo Anthony San Juan is the dealer principal and part of the board of directors at the Esjay Auto Group, a network of car dealerships in Metro Manila and North Luzon that has now been serving customers for 50 years. He also acts as the president of various Esjay Auto Group branches like the Hyundai dealership in Quezon Avenue, as well as other brands like Cherry and Photon. San Juan is currently finishing his master's degree in entrepreneurship at the prestigious Asian Institute of Management.
Good morning, Leo. Thank you very much for making time for agenda this morning, so that people can learn about the business and about inside information that you might have regarding choosing vehicles. But before we start anything, Leo, I'm surprised you're already on top of the business. You've got multiple branches selling multiple vehicle brands. And now I'm discovering that you're taking up a master's degree at the Asian Institute of Management. Parang bakit? Bakit ba?
Good morning, Sir Cito, and thank you for having me on the show. It's a real honor to be part of your show. You know, you've been a pillar for the automotive industry for such a long time. Thank you very much. Excuse me. But to your question, first and foremost, um, as a dealer principal of the Esjay Auto Group, the Esjay Auto Group is, of course, we're a network of dealership. It's owned by our family, of course, headed by our chairman, my father, Mr. Amang San Juan. But regards to your question, why continue to study? Actually, when I mentioned na pending yung ano ko, yung aim ko, ano pa siya eh, I just lack my thesis. So
Mm.
eventually I will get back to it. It's just been a very hectic few years, as you know, from the pandemic. But yeah, we're continuing to grow. The industry is very much, I wouldn't say it's back from pre-pandemic times, but definitely you're talking about revenge, rebuild. That's really the story now. So it's a good time. It's a good time to get back into the industry. Not get back, but continue investing and continue
Mhm.
growing the business. Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned that your dad was the founder, so clearly this is a two-generation business. Uh, does that mean that your children are also involved? Is it going to be a multi-generational business? And do you see this as a real long-term business model?
Oh yes, sir. Definitely. As a matter of fact, we are on our 50th year from the time my dad started the business back in obviously 1973 in Baliwag, Bulacan. So we're celebrating our 50th year, and there you see the video of our expo that we did just beginning of this month, July 1 to 7, at the SM Fairview. Yeah, so
Mhm.
yeah, going back, yeah, it is definitely a family affair. As a matter of fact, I already have two children who are already part of the business, both of whom are undergoing their management trainee uh, status right now. So one is actually involved in sales in our
Mhm.
Nissan Commonwealth branch. The other one is involved in social media marketing in Quezon Avenue. Aside from them, I also have two nephews who are already in the business. So they are helping out my brother Dennis, in our provincial dealerships naman. So yeah, definitely we see the automotive dealerships as a long-term
Mhm.
family business, so that's really the goal. It's really to
Okay.
sustain and continue to also, of course, provide good employment to our people, which is a very big part of our um, thrust. Yeah.
How did it all start, Leo? Because I'm sure there might be viewers or people, pundits who will say, "Huh? Cito interviewing a car salesman? Hindi po car salesman itong ini-interview ko, no? Big time itong kausap ko." But just for the benefit of our viewers, how did this business start? Where you said it started in Baliwag, Bulacan. Were you just buy and sell, ahente lang, nangungumisyon, or did you straight up start a dealership for a brand?
So it started actually my father after leaving corporate in around the early 70s. He put up a mobile station in Baliwag, Bulacan.
Gasoline
I
station, yung mobile
Yes,
gas
sir.
station. Okay.
Yes, sir. It was a mobile gasoline station. So at first, because the lot of the gas station was pretty medyo malaki siya, he put up a vulcanizing tire supply on one side. So from
Mm-hmm.
there, we became a dealer for then Firestone tires.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Following that, at that time, Volkswagen, of course, was the number one car brand in the country, right? So my father noticed the lack of good service centers in Baliwag. So he put up at first a small talyer on the other side of the gas station. So it was
Mm-hmm.
really a small talyer in the true sense na four posts and the roof. Ganun.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it started. Yeah, so from there, we got the service dealership muna for Volkswagen. So we started out as a accredited service shop for Volkswagen. Later
Mhm.
on, when Vox was trying to, of course, grow the business in Northern Luzon, that was when they asked my father, Amang, do you want to maybe take it up a notch, right? Why don't you sell na rin Volkswagen cars? So from there, that's where it started. We put up the first car dealership, full car dealership of Volkswagen in Baliwag, Bulacan. That was our start.
Okay. And how old were you when that was put up? 16,
I
15?
Oh no, because this was in the maybe this was around 77, 78. I was 5 years old.
Ah, okay, okay. Ay, sorry Akala ko kaedad kita eh. Malaki pala tanda ko sa'yo.
Mas pogi ka naman sir sa akin, kaya okay lang.
Okay, that will get you points. Anyway, so you put up the Volkswagen dealership, and what were the challenges starting up? Because you have a gasoline station, that's a hands-on job, and then you have a vulcanizing station. Then you put up a tallier or repair service shop, and then now a dealership for a foreign brand. That back then, I should be interviewing your father, but I don't know.
Actually.
But
next
I mean,
next time.
yeah, because during those years, everybody, if it ain't American, it ain't a car.
Yes, sir. Well, difficulties. Well, I guess. But if you remember, Bosito, during
Mm.
that time, Vox was already very popular. It was, the Beetle, of course, was that generation's people's car, right?
Yeah.
So it was already pretty established. No, the
Hmm.
difficulty probably was really more of the financing, right? The capital.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the
You know
late
that
70s.
yeah, but even up to now, that is something many people don't realize that people like you or businessmen who get into a car dealership or selling vehicles, etc., that your credit exposure is huge. That you have to have a minimum number of units that you must buy, and in order to do that, you must have a credit line from a bank or a group of banks. Sabi nga nung isang kaibigan ko recently, teka bro, kakausapin ko muna yung mga bankero na mga uutangan ko. So how do you guys deal with that? I mean, I can't sleep if I know I owe somebody money.
How do you deal with it? Well, really, I guess it's of course it doesn't start that way, right? What happened to my father, he started the business gradually. So of course
Mm-hmm.
the capital needs also gradually grew. And you're right, at the beginning for my father, it was really yun nga, sino magpapautang sa akin, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a new businessman. So honestly, I don't know if I can say this on air, but we resorted to a lot of shady loan sources, if you know what I mean, right? The
Mm-hmm.
5-6
Yung
that was something.
yung waiting lord na mayor din. Uh, so
Wala na po.
you had to find anyone and everyone who was willing to lend you money.
Yes, sir. Actually,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Now, so Volkswagen, how long did you carry that before you decided, hey, this is a good business?
Oh, it was actually a good business from the start, boss. Kasi at
Mm-hmm.
that time, because as you know, in the automotive industry, you get this parang line. So we had that North Luzon line, no, from Baliwag, Bulacan to Isabela. Sorry, Nueva Ecija,
Mm-hmm.
Cabanatuan, all the way up north to Isabela, to Gigarao, Ilocos, no. So we actually branched out. So from Baliwag, business was quite good. We also got the dealership for Volkswagen in Cabanatuan. And then we
Mm.
even now went further north. We even went further north all the way to, like I said, Isabela, to Gigarao. No? Actually, we didn't actually leave Volkswagen. No? As you remember, it was martial law.
Mhm.
Volkswagen was pressured, shall we say,
Mhm.
to stop their operations in the country. So that was the only reason that we really stopped becoming a dealer, continuing to be a dealer for Volkswagen.
That's news to me, Leo. I didn't realize that because Volkswagen back then belonged to the Guevaras, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
correct, sir. Correct. Yeah.
What happened back then?
Like I said, I was maybe 9 or 10 at that time. I really don't
Mm.
recall. But I just remember my father saying it was a lot of pressure from certain government agencies, that really forced the Guevaras to close,
Yeah.
or give up the Volkswagen distributorship. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And that's when we started seeing a lot of Japanese cars.
Yes, sir. Correct. So
Okay.
after Volkswagen left, so of course, meron kaming small dealer network. We were going, what are we gonna do now? No, but if you remember the DMG facility along E. Rodriguez,
Mhm.
later on, it was taken over by Nissan.
Mhm.
So it was Nissan who basically replaced Volkswagen in that facility. And of course, when we found out that Nissan was coming in, we also applied to Nissan, and luckily, they
Mhm.
approved our application, and we continued as dealers for Nissan naman.
Okay. And so you learned your first lesson, nothing is forever. Walang forever. Okay. Sige, parang
Yes,
ano,
sir.
no? Parang telenovela, no? Walang forever. Okay, so continue with the story. You have Nissan. Now, Nissan back then was just on the journey of reputation building because many people didn't really know Nissan. And so what was that like?
It was very difficult because, as you know, as hanggang ngayon naman, yung pa rin. People connote cars with a certain Japanese brand also. Tawagin na lang natin siyang Toyota.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but at that time, so Nissan was relatively new in the market. And siguro there were some product issues back then.
Mhm.
So they got the parang reputation of not good quality, right? Diba?
Or
It also affect.
hit or miss. Actually, to be fair to Nissan, it was more of hit or miss. They would have really nice models, more of the executive type cars, and then they would have non-popular models that were more of the SUV or but they were okay naman with the pickup. So parang hit or miss sila.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Thank you. So it affected us, of course, in sales sometimes. Reputation, as you know, Filipinos love, talking about chismis, no? But yeah, gradually, of course, Nissan being a very good company,
Mhm.
they were able to overcome that stigma. And yeah, it would just continue to grow. And you're right, they really brought in a lot of great cars, like, the Sentra, the Zafiro, if you remember that. Of course, the pickups of Nissan have always been, very popular in the market. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you went from Volkswagen to Nissan. Now, what lessons did you discover between this is a German brand, the German brand is gone. I now have a Japanese brand. Did you retain the same customers? Kasi may mga magsasabi, it's not about the brand, it's about the dealership. Did you retain the same customers or did your customers go, sorry, Leo, sorry, guys, but dun kami sa German. So what happened?
I guess because our dealership then was in the province, it was
Mhm.
in Baliwag, Bulacan. There was a certain level of, you're right, it's not the car. He was well known in the community,
Mhm.
and he was really able to use that popularity, or shall we say, the friendship aspect, to keep the customers. So yeah, people continue to buy Nissan cars from us
Okay,
after we left
so
the
they
Volkswagen.
trusted the dealer, they trusted the dealership. Yeah, the brand was great, but at the end of the day, if I can't even trust the guy who's selling it to me, how much more can I trust what he's selling? So, ladies and gentlemen, that's your number two lesson, okay? Walang forever, and it's a matter of trust. Now, we'll go for a quick break, a 2-minute break. When we return, we will now tackle how Leo's company or family company went into multiple brands. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
Several good news for the auto industry. Back in May, Malacanang approved a 5-year extension of the Comprehensive Automotive Resurgence Strategy or CARS program to boost the country's automotive industry. Under the program, the government offers fiscal support to participants in exchange for investments for the production of at least 200,000 units of their enrolled vehicle model within 6 years. Aside from this, the European Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines is pushing for a tariff-free measure for automotive vehicles and components under the possible free trade agreement of the Philippines and the European Union. Meanwhile, the Energy Department also has its own agenda as they push for a faster rollout of electric vehicles or EVs in the Philippines to help reduce the country's dependence on fossil fuels. Let's discuss all of these further on today's agenda.
Okay, let's welcome back our guest, Leo. Welcome back from the break, and we were talking about the history of the company, transitioning from just a gasoline station with the vulcanizing shop, with atelier, and then becoming a dealer for Volkswagen, putting up a chain of Volkswagen dealerships north of Baliwag, Bulacan, and then losing the business because of political developments, and then having to transition to a less popular brand. And now you have multiple brands. What convinced you to do that? Because honestly, I don't envy you. I mean, yeah, you have all the brands on the wall, but on the back room you also have all the utang.
That's true, sir. But to answer your question, my father always recognized Metro Manila as a gold pot, if shall we
Mm-hmm.
say. We were doing well in the province, but really the volume was in Metro Manila. So he was always trying to find ways to penetrate the Metro Manila market.
Mm-hmm.
We started first, we actually started selling Colorum Nissan in Metro Manila. So we
Colorum
put,
Nissan. Ano Colorum
yeah,
Nissan?
because of course, di ba alam naman natin, yung industry, you're supposed to stay in your area of operations.
Ah,
And
okay.
so my father, we put up first a small sales office in Quezon City, and we were selling Nissan in Quezon City.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we also acquired a dealership naman for Francisco Motors at that time, distributors of the Mazda commercial vehicles, also
Mm.
the Anfra, parang AUV boss, di ba, if you remember.
Yeah.
So at that time, we put up our first Metro Manila dealership. It was at that time called Sunny Motor Sales along Quezon Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
It was located actually in where the present day Hyundai Quezon Avenue is located.
Mm-hmm.
So we were selling the Anfras and the Mazda vans and pickups. But on the side, we were selling Nissan, and we were selling it really well, to the point na the Metro Manila dealers were getting on Nissan's back and saying, "Why are you allowing San Juan to sell Nissan in Metro Manila? They're not a Metro Manila dealer." So
Mm-hmm.
what happened was my father, not naman forced, but again, he saw the potential of Metro Manila. So
Mm-hmm.
with the help of then NMPI, we put up our first Nissan dealership in Commonwealth Avenue, Metro Manila dealership in Commonwealth Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because you were already proving your abilities, albeit medyo colorum nga, but so the performance spoke for itself.
Correct.
Okay, and then
Yeah. So at that time, my father, being the visionary that he is, he just didn't want to put up just any Nissan dealership. At that time, when we put up Nissan Commonwealth, it was the biggest Nissan dealership in Asia. In
mm-hmm,
Asia, so it was huge. It was on a 1 hectare property, and then we had 3 levels. No, the service center, we had a 3 level service center, so it was huge.
okay,
And syempre, Nissan was very proud of us, and we didn't get any flack anymore from the other Metro Manila dealers. It was okay for a while, because this was around, we put it up around 96.
yeah,
And we know naman after that time, after a few months or years later, the Asian financial crisis struck
yeah,
naman.
yeah. I know so many people in the car industry who bellied up, who had exposures of hundreds of millions, with banks, and who had stocks in their warehouses, and they couldn't sell. In fact, I know of someone who had committed sales of vehicles running in the millions per unit, and then suddenly when 1997 happened, his buyer said, sorry, we can't afford to buy them. That's the time, ladies and gentlemen, when the peso went from, I think, 26 to the dollar to becoming 40 to the dollar overnight. And everyone's foreign currency-based loans just went to hell.
Correct, sir.
So what happened to you guys?
Yung nga, sir, syempre, alam mo naman, hindi naman natin matatayo yan. Hindi naman kami, I mean, we weren't picking the money off trees. We had to borrow the money, right? We had to borrow the money. And we just hung on, no? We just hung on, basically. The thing with my father, he's he's a very honorable man.
Mm-hmm.
So despite the difficulties then, he continued to pay his loans, he continued to pay his interests, you know. And of course, by this time, kasi we're already around 20 years in the automotive industry, he already had a good reputation. And we already had friends in the banking industry,
Mm-hmm.
you know, who really helped us, extensions with all of that. But in the end, really, it was really just my father's grit and tenacity. And of course, his being honorable and being a great, stand-up guy, that his reputation that really kept us afloat then.
Okay, so another lesson is, that's a second tragic lesson. First lesson was politics can ruin the business. And then the second lesson is as hard as you try, as faithful and visionary as you may be, you cannot prevent crisis or disaster like the 1997 economic disaster. So from there, how is it that you now have practically all the brands? How many brands can you please share with our viewers how many brands you have, how many branches you have? Kasi para naman hindi nila isiping salesman ka lang.
Okay, sir. Actually, I had to count.
Go.
So actually, right now we have 10 brands that we carry. So we have Hyundai, we have of course Nissan, we have Mitsubishi, we have Suzuki, we have Fuso, just to get all of the Japanese brands out of the way. Then of course we're also very active with the China brands now. So we have Photon, we have Cherry, we have Jetour, and we have Chang'an.
Okay. Yeah. Now, you seem to have a penchant for trying untested brands or new brands. Like you mentioned, Cherry, Photon, Jetour. And yung Chang'an, ngayon ko lang nadinig yung Chang'an. Tagal ko nang nagmotoring, ngayon ko lang nadinig. But how has it been? Because, a lot of people ask me, Kuya, what do you think of the China brands? I said, well, all the cars in the world are made in China, so what's your problem? But you as a dealer and based on the feedback from your customers, how are the Chinese brands performing and what is the customer feedback?
Well, we didn't get into the China brand segment right away, boss. No. Of course, we all know the first few attempts of Cherry in the Philippines didn't really do quite well. No. We didn't get into it right away. But early on, our family recognized that China isn't a question of if, it's always been a question of when. So we took our time with China, with the China brands. There were a few attempts to, some of the distributors were trying to get us to join them. We didn't join agad. No. It was only maybe around 10 years ago that Photon approached us. And at that time, Photon was already quite established in the Philippines. They were already putting up their assembly plant in Clark.
Yeah, and
of course,
I've heard that they're the number one truck band globally. Truck brand Globally, parang number one sila sa truck sales.
I think so.
Mhm.
I'm not really quite sure about it, but yeah, they're pretty up there, right?
Okay,
And
so
of course, that's
Photon approached you. They have a factory in. They have an assembly plant in Pampanga. Uh, they're very aggressive with their service warranties, etc. So what happened?
so yeah. At that time, we were really looking for a affordable commercial
Mhm.
vehicle brand. Yeah, and Photon pretty much fell into our laps, and yeah, we decided to put up a Photon dealership along Quezon Avenue. So
Oh.
yeah,
I find that surprising because a lot of the people who in motoring have pointed out that Photon's magic came from the fact that they first focused in the provinces. I was expecting that you put up a dealership the same way you did with Volkswagen, but why Quezon Avenue?
at that time, sir, we had an open facility. Uh,
Ah,
there was
okay.
a there was a brand that didn't quite work out for us at that time.
Hmm.
And of course, again, Metro Manila is still the hub of sales in the automotive industry. And
Mm,
at that
okay.
time, people were looking for a good, affordable van, you know.
Yeah.
Because at that time, school buses, um, yung mga tourism thing was very
Yeah.
big then.
Commuters.
So exactly, there you go,
Hmm.
commuters, exactly. So pinasok namin yung Photon, and their Traveler and Transman did very well for us.
Okay.
We recognize that market, yeah.
I'm just wondering because you also carry the Cherry SUVs, the Tigo models, and then you mentioned Jetour. I honestly haven't seen the Jetour personally, so I'm gonna have to put that on my list. But people are probably now asking, may kita ba siya? Paano ba siya kumikita? How do you make money in vehicle sales or car truck sales? Because someone told me you don't need to make a big profit per unit, but if you sell but in volume, you get a how do you call it, a price,
Subsidy.
subsidy, or may premyo ka for volume sales, so you get you make that's where you make the money because your investments for putting up a dealership, hiring people, advertising, medyo mabigat din yun.
Yes, sir. Well, to be honest, it's quite, it's not, how do I say this? The profit is there, but yeah,
Mhm.
it takes a bit more of capital, you know.
Mhm.
Margins for auto dealerships are not like retail, 20-30%. It's very far from that, right?
Mhm.
But you're right, with volume, you do get the profit. And you're right, volume is, of course, in any business, king. So if we're able to hit our targets, our distributors are happy, they give us a little more incentive also, di ba,
Mhm.
maybe also a bit of term sometimes, but not all the
Mhm.
time. And of course, there's the ancillary businesses, like, of course, of after sales. After sales is a big part of the dealership. We sell
Mhm.
parts, we sell labor. Then there's, of course, like the insurance.
Mhm.
So that's also a good part of the business.
And I think when I met you, you mentioned that you also have a financing company.
Yes, my father, together with some of his friends, put up a finance and lending company. It's called First United Finance and Leasing Corporation.
Mhm.
No, so at first, when they first put that up, it was with the intention of really serving the automotive uh, financing market, right?
Yeah.
But selfishly, of course, being a car dealership, we really saw that it would be a good opportunity for us, right, to also help the car dealership sell, and at the same time also make money from the financing.
Mhm. So
So
it's not a per unit profit. it's you make a little money selling the car because your commissions go to the sales agent. You have to pay for the but if you sell enough, you have volume sales incentive. Ayun, medyo maandar na yung utak ko. So you have volume sales incentive, and then the ancillary or related businesses such as a little money profit from the financing, a little profit from the service center, a little profit from this and that, etc. So kumikita as a whole.
Definitely, sir. Yes.
Okay, now what are the risks? Because before, one of our viewers who has suddenly hit the lotto or retired decides, oh, I want to be a dealer also. Ano ang risk? Because I heard from another source that there is a major dealership in Metro Manila who couldn't make the volume sales, and they were penalized like daily. Meron daw parang daily fine pag hindi mo naman na-meet yung minimum requirement or minimum sales.
Actually, sir, to be honest, maybe we're just lucky. We never have encountered anything like that, ano. Wala pa naman kaming, hindi pa naman kami na-penalize ng mga distributors.
But is it an industry practice so that people know? Is it really done? If you don't sell the number of units you agreed to, you will have to pay a fine or a penalty or daily, weekly?
No, hindi naman, sir, ganoon. Maybe baka boss nagkaroon lang ng loss in translation. Maybe the penalty would be of course, almost all dealers use a floor stock line, bridge financing to finance their inventories. Maybe the penalty was from the bank. Baka hindi sila nakaka-ano.
Ayun,
Pero wala
okay.
as far as I know, wala pong gano'n.
Sagutin naman natin yung mga question. Speed dating tayo, Leo. Okay, let's answer the questions of viewers. What is your take on electric vehicles? Is the time right or panaginip pa rin or hybrids?
Definitely electric vehicles, boss. It's such a great potential. It has such a great potential, no? As a matter of fact, we noticed a lot of interest now in the EV, no, particularly in Metro Manila. No, Jetour has a very interesting EV. It's called the Ice Cream. It's a small car, 799 pesos. Oh, sorry, 699. 699 pesos.
699,000 pesos, ha? Baka sabihin,
Yes, sir. Sorry. 699,000, yeah. So it's a small car, perfect for maybe a first-time driver, maybe your child's, maybe a freshman in college, gusto mong bigyan ng kotse. It's perfect for that. No, it's so easy to drive around the city because it's so small, it's so easy to park. You have the added advantage of EV, no coding. Yeah, so it's very interesting. Aside
no
from
coding? Ang electric
Yes, sir.
vehicle?
Yes, sir. Tama po.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So hybrid EV, okay. Now, I don't know. I have to check with our executive producer. I'm getting mixed messages here how much time we have. But so EV seem to be okay for you. It's gaining popularity. Now, what works better for consumers? Cash out or financing?
Well, definitely, sir, kasi financing will really give you the flexibility. You know? Not everyone has, 700, 800,000 pesos just to spend on a car, right?
Mm-hmm.
So financing will really give our customers the flexibility to own a car and just pay it off over a number of years and have the benefits of having a great car to use. Yeah.
If your need is greater than your wallet, then go with financing. If your wallet is thicker than your needs, then go cash. But okay, now
Exactly.
how do people decide, or how should people decide on what car to buy? Because in my column in the Philippine Star today, I pointed out that unlike in the past, cars now are so competitive and so close to each other. They practically, I told you that when I met you, that they all look alike, that it's so hard for motoring journalists to decide or to write about the products. Kumbaga parang, hello, pare-pareho na kayo, para akong tumitingin ng mga kambal eh. Okay, but for buyers, how do they decide on what is the right car for them? You're a veteran. What's your advice?
Well, definitely, sir, they have to first ask themselves, what do they really need the car for? Right? Is it for business? Is it for personal use? Are you gonna load a lot of equipment on it, or is it just a family car, or is it just you? Right? So first and foremost, they have to find out really what they want to use the car for. Once they've decided that, they now have to look at actually who they want to buy the car from. Diba, sir?
Mhm.
So what do I mean by that? So like you said, there's so many brands coming out now. There's the established Japanese brands, there's Korean, there's Chinese, right? There's European. No?
Mhm.
So of course you gotta look at your budget, right? So once you look at your budget and you know what to use, what use you want for the car, that's when you finally decide. Oh, I think maybe I want to get a China car or maybe a Japanese car, diba?
Mhm.
And from there you look at the brand, no? What's the brand? Is it an established brand? How long has it been in the country? Do they have the adequate facilities in the country? And then they look at the dealer also.
Mhm.
It's sometimes people make not naman a mistake, but they'll buy a car just because the guy has the best deal. No, but the guy's service center is 2 hours away from them. So you gotta also factor that in, di ba?
Mhm.
If the service center is too far away, paano mo papaayos, di ba? At the same time, you gotta go to a reputable dealer. No, you gotta go to a reputable dealer who can give you sound advice, good service, and just help make your car ownership experience so much easier and fun. So yeah,
Okay.
ganun po.
Well said, Leo, and thank you very much for those tips, and thank you for introducing our viewers into the world of car dealerships and the challenges that go with it. I'm sure they all learned something today. Thank you, and God bless you, bro.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's Mr. Leo Anthony San Juan of the Esjay Auto Group, and my congratulations to his father. Job well done. Now let's go to our prayer for the week. Gab, if you would. And it comes from the first book of Peter, chapter 5, verses 6 to 7. And it goes, humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. I do hope you pay attention to this prayer. It speaks to you. I myself have gone through a period of anxiety, concern as one ages. But as I sought the Lord, He answered me, and I feel a lot better. And I do hope this prayer will reassure you. Thank you for watching Agenda. Please keep it here on One News.